I'm so thrilled you're here because the policies, you're so personally connected to the policies that you promote. It's lived experiences, not lobbyists, that encourage the policies you promote. So I just want to talk briefly about kind of where you came from. You were born in New York City, you lived in public housing and rent-controlled apartments. After college, you started your work as a public educator, eventually working your way to founding your own school, the Cornerstone Academy of Social Action in the Bronx, which became one of the best public middle schools in the city. Congratulations. You saw the inequities of the education system from lived experience. What kept you going? What kept you motivated to stay in it, eventually, creating your own school?
Yeah, so I guess I pulled from my own personal experiences. I went to public schools my entire life. My friends went to public schools. Like that's my upbringing. That's my reality. And growing up in the 80s, it was a tough time because it was like the crack cocaine epidemic. And I had a sister who struggled with addiction during that time, and she and her friends would like steal from my house and living those experiences. And we were street kids growing up in New York City. So anyone here from New York City who was a street kid, using the street all the time, hanging out, you would get into random fights and steal little things from stores and get arrested. And when I was 11, I was beaten up by the cops, like pretty bad actually, just for like horse playing as a kid. So despite those lived experiences, I still was able to, because my mom was awesome, and because I had mentors and coaches throughout my life that, believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself, they set me up and put me in a position where I was able to thrive in school, get myself to college and get myself through college. And where I came from, pretty much none of my other friends were able to make it through that. So when I started teaching, I saw myself in the students that I served.
Right.
And I started teaching in the South Bronx. Now, I grew up in East Harlem, Upper East Side.
Yeah.
But the South Bronx is a whole different animal.
Right.
And so and when you grow up in Manhattan, and sorry for the long answer, but when you grow up in Manhattan, you're not far away from like wealth, like incredible wealth.
Yes.
Park Avenue, Fifth Avenue, Museum Mile, incredible wealth. So contrasting where I grew up to that, and then my kids in the South Bronx that I taught, it was just like, why is the world like this?
Right.
So I saw myself in them. I knew the world didn't have to be like this.
Right.
And it just inspired me to be the best teacher I could be, and inspired me to do the other things I did in education.
Right, and you weren't just a teacher, you also were an activist. Like, you built coalitions to try to make the lives of students better. You tried to end standardized tests. Thank you so much, I hate the SATs.
Yes.
But then what made you decide, what was the moment when you were like, you know what, I need to get on the inside, I need to run against a 16-term incumbent Democrat, I need to get in Congress? And what was that decision? What happened?
Yeah, so I saw a rise, and I guess I'm the serious portion of the show. I don't want to
yeah. Don't worry, we're talking George.
I gotta be honest though.
Yeah.
So I saw a rise in suicidal ideation from my middle school kids over the period of time that I was there. And I was like, what the hell is happening? Like, why are our kids struggling with so many different things? And then a year before I decided to run was the first full year of Donald Trump's presidency.
Oh, good times.
Yes. 34 kids died within the K-12 school system in the Bronx.
Wow.
And 17 died via suicide. And right across the highway from me, a 14-year-old girl was bullied in school, went to school administrators, no one knew what to do. One day after school, she goes to the top of a building and jumps off. And no one was talking about it. Like, no one was crying out for help or talking about the sense of urgency around our kids are dying. There's a connection between what's happening to our kids and the policy that's coming from Washington.
Right.
No one was talking about this.
Right.
So I just felt that, because of my 20 years in education, because of my personal experiences, that I had something that I could offer. And I ran and
you won.
And I won.
And when you won, there wasn't really a honeymoon period. You got in, you're in the height of the COVID pandemic, And right after a little armed insurrection, and you're working with people, some people who support that insurrection. So I don't know how HR works in Congress. So it's a little bit of an awkward situation, I imagine. But you get in there and you secure a vaccination site for Yonkers. You secure $22 million for affordable housing, $14 million you build our roads, rails, and bridges, $10 million for community development. So you get in there. Is the process of getting results in Congress what you expected? Is it harder? What are the challenges that you find?
It's a hustle, right? So when you get there, you gotta outwork and out hustle and out grind people. And for me, from the very beginning, it's always been about my kids first and foremost. So whatever I do, I'm thinking about my students first and foremost. Then I'm thinking about the district as a whole. Your point about lobbyists, I've never met with a lobbyist. I don't even know what that is. I don't take corporate PAC money.
Right.
I don't mess with lobbyists because that's the problem. We have fucking corporations and big money controlling politics. And we don't have people who's working for actual real people. So for me, it was we had Co-op City. Seniors were dying of COVID. We need a vaccination site there right now. Hustle, grind, call the mayor, call the governor, call whoever. And, when I first got in, AOC gave me some really good advice. Shout out to AOC.
Shout out to AOC!
She was like, make sure you use your power. Because when you use your power, you gain more of it. And what people believe is they believe that they run out of power. They use it and then they exhaust it. But that's not true. Everyone in this audience has a voice and has power. When you use it, you get more of it. It comes from the universe, it comes from God, it comes from friends, it comes from somewhere. But when you use it, it comes from somewhere and it gives you more to use in other ways, and that's what I try to do.
Totally, and you start proposing legislation that, like I said,